Hello. Welcome. There's something here for anyone who enjoys stories and/or storytelling, whether you're an old hand or a noob. Educators and VR founder Laurel wanted to prove you could indeed teach anything, even writing, in virtual reality. My name's Steph. I myself am living proof. Okay, so let's get started. Have you ever had this conversation? A friend says, I don't know what to do with myself. I'm too tired after work, or can't get friends together enough, or going nuts by myself in lockdown, or I'm bored already with being retired. So you reply, you should join us. We had a great time last night. Visited a museum, took a class, played mini golf until way too late. How could you do all that in one evening, he or she asks. In VR. Oh, that. Yes, that. What's your problem with it? You only tried it once years ago. A lot has changed. We should stop bringing it up. I'm not trying to force it on you for Pete's sake. It's just everything you want to do as easy as picking up the phone. Just saying. But it's not, they're not real. If you haven't gotten defensive by this time, you're better than I am. After all, your friends here in VR are probably just as real to you as you wish you were to this friend who now seems to doubt your sanity. Since all here look basically like this, I think we can assume that's a yes? Agreed? Admittedly, sometimes it's hard to tell until you see name tags. This real? How about this? This movie seems so real to its first audience at the Grand Café of 1896 Paris that they thought it was an actual oncoming train. They panicked and fled. People have been believing what they see at the movies ever since. Well? Unless it's actually the word for word. So what about when a word might be nonsense, unfamiliar, or in another language? What then? Or so Charlie Chaplin asked a half-century after that train arrived in Paris. He could make an audience see anything by simply embodying it into mime, like what it's like to be a rose wanting to be a rose. Mike Anthony, who tends the bar at Hamilton on Broadway, whenever he sees someone looking emotional, delights in asking the theater-goer, "So, how was the show?" Answered one patron, "It is more amazing than anything. I do not understand all they say, and good, I'm like this," referring to his eyes already. This actor-author believes we are all basically the same. In 2015, there was uproar over people seeing different colors in the same photo of a dress. Some seeing it as white and gold, others blue and black. Color, it turns out, depends as much upon the brain as the eye of the beholder. What color is this? So you're seeing red? Are you angry? Or just stopping to look both ways in traffic? Synesthetes can. But is there a word and an emotion for this? If every phrase of music had to be as descriptive as other languages, everything would be an onomatopoeia and sound like what it describes. A dog's bark would have to sound like a dog barking. But even in a single spoken word, there is music, even if it's not onomatopoeia. Or even if it is. If the sound of your project matches the emotional meaning of your story, it's another way to have something in common with its audience, like the sadness of a minor key. Or the joy of a familiar cliché. Accompanying Lance, our own world builder extraordinaire, on a tour recently, I came a little late through an Altspace portal and found myself seemingly without a body, cruising alone above an alien landscape. Glitch, I thought uncomfortably, until I realized I was hearing music and there was excited conversation all around me. A mirror revealed that my avatar self, along with everyone else on the tour, had been turned by this world into a zippy, free-flying ore with glowing eyes. Even if they are what you mentally imagine them to be, you still can't smoke the painting of a pipe as if it were a pipe. And whether you believe in it or not, you're also unlikely to ever get run over by a movie. Yet something makes all of these real enough to have captured all sorts of people's attention and make them think, feel, and even run screaming across 3 centuries. Do we ever outgrow the joy of shouting this? Writing, 3D modeling, most any art or craft, is at some point a solitary journey of discovery, ideally pursued alone for its own sake. Yet, like finding yourself invisible and isolated in a new world, it feels wrong and almost seems like a survival imperative to share the experience. Self-expression implies there will be at least one other self to share it with. Whether world visitors or word readers feel the presence of an author or not, they'll only feel alone when their understanding or emotional response is taken for granted or forgotten. That's why representation and having perceptions in common matter. It's also why reading one's own work aloud, like what we tend to do here in Altspace every week, is so beneficial. Imagining the listener's understanding and emotional response is almost as important as not distracting them with poor spelling or misleading grammar. Lewis Carroll's reality was expressed by reimagining Alice's world and the real Alice herself in it. That story has remained real for countless other Alices ever since. So, what's your reality? Has something been made that real for you? Are there tales to tell? Discuss. Reality, I'm sure Physics Dude will agree, is made up of many more dimensions than we will ever be able to see with anything but our imaginations. And Laurel will remind us, starting again here in Altspace at the same time next Tuesday, that imagination alone does not make a world, at least not a very real one. Thank you all for coming and staying. That's officially the end of this event.